And joining us now, she is back in Orlando for the 2024 Olympic Marathon trial. Please welcome to the show former UCF distance runner Anne Marie Blaney. Anne Marie, how have you been doing? How's it feel being back in Orlando?
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, I've been back in Orlando since December 20th, just training and locking into, the same schedule every day, running all the paths you could run in the Orlando area.
Have you gotten a chance to preview the course yet?
Yeah, we've actually previewed it a couple times now. So,
What are your thoughts on it?
I really like it. I love that it's, pretty simple, relatively flat. And I think it bodes well for spectators, which I think is huge, because this is a big marathon, especially to happen so close to my hometown. So I think it has the opportunity to have a ton of fans. Given that, traveling to Orlando is usually relatively easy to find a flight to since everyone's, vacationing here around this time. Um, so yeah, it's looking pretty good, pretty fast too. So
How does it feel to have such a big race in your career right here and your right here, like what kind of back where you kind of became the runner that you end up becoming?
yeah, I think it's been like the most awesome to have it be easy on family and friends to finally watch me race because Florida typically doesn't host too many um huge races in general, but yeah, just to have it be easy for friends and family to get to, I think is probably the biggest highlight. Yeah, and then hopefully, it brings out more fans from UCF that I don't know, I guess I can kind of show like I'm still competing at the highest level that I can handle. So, yeah.
You hold plenty of records still in the UCF track and field record book, outdoor 5K and 10K, indoor 3K, 5K and the mile, but you're competing for a spot in the Olympics on the marathon team. What made you decide to try out to pick marathons?
Yeah, I think I've always kind of been destined to run the marathon. I've always done, the longest distance available to me. So in college, that was like the 5K, 10K. So now, as I've transitioned to the pro world, I kind of worked on ramping up my mileage with my team, and just kind of putting in the work and consistency to grow that base and transition to the marathon. It did take me about 4 years to do that, but there's just so many fun races to do in the meantime, so I really wasn't in a rush. I think I was just trying to mature as a runner as well, and now this will be my fourth marathon. So,
Nice. How different is going from that college world of like the miles and the 5Ks and the 10Ks to a full-on marathon?
it's definitely drastically different. The workouts are different. It's everything's more based on strength rather than speed, because you're out there for so long. So the marathon is just, you know, I probably run 2 times the amount of miles a week that I ran in college. So to double that is kind of crazy to think about, but that's, you got to put in a ton of mileage before any marathon. Otherwise, miles like 20 through 26 are going to be pretty brutal.
Yeah, I gotta imagine. This is one of the reasons that like I love track and field being what it is because it really there is that you push your body to the limit in other sports, but I feel like track and field is almost like the most like, people have been doing that, who've been running forever. So it's one of those like kind of pure things where there's nothing else. It's just you.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very primitive sport.
Primitive feels like such a wrong word to describe it, even though it's like right, you know? You're back in the marathon trial because this is your second time, I believe, competing in a marathon trial, correct?
Yes.
So yeah, I remember back in I believe it was Atlanta back in 2020, you raced in that one. What would you say is the biggest difference between the runner you were back then in 2020 versus the runner we're seeing right now?
Yeah, so I'd never ran a marathon before qualifying for the 2020 trials. I qualified by running a half marathon. But it still gave me the opportunity to go and kind of experience what an Olympic trials marathon was like and what the energy was like, and, just kind of start learning about the marathon in general. So I feel like at that point, I wasn't ready to run a marathon. But now this will be my fourth one. So I definitely have, three marathons worth of experience going into this. And I feel so much more like a veteran runner. And I've put in the mileage basically required to run a marathon. So um, yeah, I think I'll just be way more equipped. And yeah, I guess I am a whole different distance runner now than I was 4 years ago. So,
So you're able to qualify for the marathon trials with a half marathon?
yep, if you run a pretty fast half time, you can qualify for the marathon trials, and there's quite a few girls who are doing that. But yeah.
Neat. So you ended up qualifying for this marathon thanks to your 2:31:32 time at the 2023 Boston Marathon. Now that's certainly a famous marathon for sure. What was it like to get a chance to run in that event?
Yeah, the Boston Marathon I think is unmatched when it comes to fans and running that race. I think anyone, who can qualify for that, I see why everybody makes such a big deal about it. The fans were just, like four, probably like at least four people deep when you're coming up to the finish. And yeah, finishing that race was definitely one of the highlights of my career so far. Yeah, I think it's just a hard marathon to match the hype. And it was difficult, but I think there's also something like very special about the Olympic trials that since it's only once every 4 years and it's the best of the best in the US, that it will have its own kind of special magic on the day.
There What you talked about the transition, but like just on their own, what would you say is the biggest difference from preparing to run a marathon versus the events that the UCF like distance runners are preparing to run this season?
I mean, I guess
Like
the marathon is just like a whole beast in itself. But I mean, running is running. You just have to put in the work for practice, no matter what you're training for. And your training is kind of specific to what your goals are, and your capabilities. So, um, it just kind of becomes more and more miles as you get older and move up in distance.
so So you end up now, what has it now been like for you because going into this like running professionally, like what does it mean to you to be able to get a chance to do this with your life?
Yeah, I guess I never saw like pro running as I guess an opportunity. So when it presented itself that, a team or two was interested in me my senior year of college, I was like, maybe I should just try it out or see like what opportunities are out there. And if I still love the sport, then why not keep doing it? I guess I am a little bit shocked that I'm still going, and I don't really have plans to stop until I feel like I'll just know when I ran my best or fastest times, and I'm definitely not there yet and haven't mastered the marathon. So, and who knows if I ever will master the marathon, but to be a part of the Olympic trials, I feel like is a huge accomplishment. And if as long as I'm still able to do that, I think I will always continue to train for that goal. So,
Well, I will say that if you put your qualifying time in amongst the results from last year's marathon, you would have been right in about 11th, like really close to being the top 10. But then again, I mean, if the college 100-meter hurdles event tells me anything, the difficulty of a competition could drastically change over the course of a couple of years with certain athletes kind of come to play. So when you look at at the field that you're going to be taking the course with, just what kind of go through your head when you kind of see people like I believe Emily Sisson, who was on the marathon, who made it last year, as there as well, going back, trying to for another Olympic berth.
Yeah, so I mean, there's been several American records broken multiple times since the last trials, so it's definitely just the sport in general is more and more competitive every year. But yeah, it's just fun to be able to line up against everyone, um, and all of our schedules are aligning to this one race, which kind of never happens, because everyone's got a different, agenda each year and which races they want to do, and there's a lot of options. So this is just gonna have everyone all in one place at once, and I don't know, we'll see what happens.
You You ended up lowering. I noticed you said you train for these things by doing a marathon, and I n noticed that you ended up actually doing a really good job dropping your half marathon time by a little up by about over 5 minutes over between 2022 and 2023, getting a chance to run in a race in Valencia in Spain. What's it been like to be able to travel internationally to do this, which is something that you don't really get to do with running in the college world?
Yeah, I think every international trip is super special. To be a part of any like US team and represent, our country has been something that I've really like loved doing and, can never take for granted seeing a new place so far away. So the sport really has taken me to some pretty amazing places, and Valencia was nothing short of that. The culture of that race was amazing. And I highly recommend, people to go over and run that race, even if it's just for fun. It was just such a great place to race and amazing weather and hospitality. And then getting to explore afterwards, all the places that I've been has been probably like definitely one of the highlights of this career that I've chosen. So, yeah.
Considering that in 2020, which funnily enough, I mean that marathon trial seems like a lifetime considering it happened before the world shut down. But how does it feel like? Because since last time you qualified with a half marathon time, this time around you actually qualified with a full-on marathon time. So how does it feel for you to kind of get the chance to pretend to go for a spot on the U.S. Olympic team after doing what you've been doing, doing what you've been doing, the training you've done over the last 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been really consistent this whole time. I've had some awesome training partners. Our team has grown to be such like a strong and positive group that, it's made the bulk of, the training is what gets you to these races. It's the practice you do every day. So to have them be so supportive and fun to run with every day has I think made a huge difference in my career. And I don't think I would still be doing this if it wasn't for the fun that we have day in and day out. But I just think I have more experience as well as a marathoner. So it'll be a completely different experience than the 2020 trials.
How are professional running teams different from college track and field teams?
Well, you don't have school anymore, so you have to balance, working on your career, but like also your running career. And then you have to kind of, figure out how much you can dedicate to the sport and keep that balance. So I say that I feel like that's like probably the hardest part is not letting go of everything you worked for in college. Because it would be so easy to just run every day. But life's gonna happen after you're done running. So I guess that's like a similarity to college, but also it's just different because now you are in control of your running career, and you have the same kind of support, but also different. You don't have academic advisors or people leading you in the right path. You're kind of on your own, but you do have, the similarity of like coaches and things like that on your side, but it's kind of up to you as a pro to decide where your career is going to go and how much you want to invest. Um, so yeah, it's just kind of that's the biggest difference is now your career's in your hands.
Speaking of college, have you gotten a chance to follow the UCF track and field team over the years since you graduated?
Yeah, I have been.
What is it like? Well, so considering that, you have run that back in back in your heyday, you ran against some of the best collegiate distance runners in the country. What is it like for you? What are your thoughts on UCF entering this Big 12 era? They already, faced got the cross country championships, and now they're in the middle of the indoor season. So what is it like for you to see UCF in the same conference competing against with the likes of programs like BYU and the other Big 12 schools?
Yeah, it's just crazy that how many like changes there have been since I was on the team, as far as conferences, because I was a part of three different conferences when I was there. So yeah, now being so many years removed, it's kind of crazy that I never thought we would be in that conference. But I think, having social media has really helped kind of shed light on all of everyone's victories, little and big. So I love following along and seeing everybody's, whether it's like a PR, personal PR, or another school record. It's really fun to see other girls out there working towards their goals and even running into them sometimes at different races. So
Yeah, Coach Boone is now coming off of four consecutive conference titles. I mean, what's it like for you to kind of, be doing your thing, and then you kind of, look on social media or something like that, and you see those like alerts whenever they've won the conference titles over these past couple of seasons.
yeah, it's kind of bittersweet because I know how it feels to win a conference title and it brings me back, to like our own wins and how fun that was. And it's like so cool to see that these other girls get to experience that as well.
So, it's funny. One thing I always look at, because when I cover track and field, the record book is always something I kind of go to on second hand, just to always make sure. And over the course of now the past couple of years, like as far as the distance runner world, like you really set marks to be in the distance category. But there's a new runner that has entered the fray that has certainly gotten a good start in that time, which is who Isabella Richardson from New Zealand. What's it like? Like I don't know if you've gotten a chance to like see any of the stuff that she's done, but what would you say is the biggest thing that I guess you do to get to the types of times that you got over the course of your UCF career?
I think just being consistent with your training. If you're out there putting in the work every single day, then, your day will come. I feel like I always was patient in that sense. Um, and it bode well for me. I feel like I was always relatively on the up and up. I consistently was training and PRing every year, and I think, that's no easy feat either to, dodge injury and things like that. But I think as long as you can stay consistent with your mileage and training and just try and stay, less injured, things will come a little bit easier, I would say.
Yeah, injuries are always just a pain in any sport you really get into.
Yeah.
So you start now. Marathon trial is going to be coming. What I believe it's February 2nd, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, a few days away from
February 3rd.
February 3rd. There we go. It was one day off of that. So you said you've been here since the 20th. So what's it like for you kind of now that the day is just kind of getting closer and closer?
Yeah, it's definitely getting nervous, I guess. We talk about it a little bit, but not too much, just because trying to keep everything, the same. But it's definitely getting exciting to finally just do it. Because we've been putting in so much work and so many miles that it'll be nice to finally see, the result of all of that.
what would it mean to you to get a spot on the U.S. Olympic marathon team?
I mean, I think that's like the dream that I've always wanted. So I think I would honestly just be speechless. I think finishing a race after, spending 2.5 hours doing it, it'll probably take like a second or two to register. But it would just be so amazing to represent the US at that level and add that to my running resume.
What do you think that you will need to do in order to do that? And does being in Orlando kind of help with that?
Yeah, I think the course is, since it's so flat and the weather is hopefully going to be pretty mild, that's always a good sign. But I think I just have to run my race and do my, like, execute my plan. And, there's a lot of people out there, but if you have your own agenda, then it might bode well.
What do you want to say to, like, Night Nation that maybe not has seen you in a while, and also, obviously they have a unique opportunity to potentially watch you attempt to, make your Olympic dreams a reality.
Yeah, I think no matter what, I think just because this like such a large event of this scale is happening right in our backyard. I hope that everyone can line the streets and come out and see what the marathon is all about. Whether you've ran one or not, I think the marathon will get so much more respect by people coming out and like actually watching in person, what it's all about. So, and like what we do. So I think if we can get as many fans out there and make this and Olympic trials to remember. That would be awesome.
Well, for those that are not able to make it to the race in downtown Orlando themselves, Peacock will be live streaming the event with the women's race going off at 10:20 a.m. on February 3rd. Most of first, if you're not able to watch the full race, first runners are expected to cross the finish line around 12:15 p.m. time period. So if you're able to tune in during that time, it's right there. But like you said, it's a it's a unique opportunity with the race being right here in our backyard. It's not every day that a national competition like this is in the Orlando area.
Yeah.
So Anne Marie, best of luck. We really excited for you, representing UCF athletes. Obviously, UCF has had a couple of Olympians in the games before, but not to my knowledge. I think a distance runner has been there before. So hopefully we'll be able to see you make some history. But even then, I mean, I'm certain a PR would be an awesome day for you, especially, right here in your former backyard.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you so much, Anne Marie, for coming on, and best of luck on the third.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.